On this episode, if you're even asking yourself the question, am I an alcoholic? You probably have a problem with it. How's your brother feel about that, though?
His relationship with my dad is a lot different than my relationship with my dad.
Have you been able to forgive your dad about all of this?
He's like, I did nothing wrong. And he was drunk on that call.
The forgiveness thing, you're not forgiving him for him. You're forgiving him for you. I'm Ed Mylett. I'm an entrepreneur, best-selling author, and a life coach with one goal, to change people's lives. Hey, thank you. All right, good to see you. Thank you. Big energy today, and thank you all for being here. So, Josh is 24 years old, and he's here today because his dad has been an alcoholic for as long as he can remember. Recently, his dad was given a second chance after receiving a new liver and being sober for the past 49 days. Josh and his brother Joe reached out for my advice on how to forgive their dad, how to manage his recovery, but not lose themselves in the process. Take a look at this.
My name is Joshua Morielli. I'm actually making a video to explain why exactly that I would need some advice and some help from Ed Mylett. You know, me and my brother are in business together, and we sell IT and cybersecurity. We make 200 phone calls, cold calls a day, so we're grinding out here. And our dad has been an alcoholic since as long as I can remember, from growing up as a kid. I'm 23 years old, my brother's 25. And, you know, he recently got admitted into the hospital for possibly failed liver. And it's been a struggle just on our mental to keep going, keep pushing forward. And I know that this is, you know, something that many people go through, dealing with alcohol abuse. And, you know, I think that this is a topic that Ed can touch on with me and my brother, maybe as a tag duo.
All right, brother, thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having me.
You know I have a soft spot for what you're going through because I relate to it very much. And so I know a lot about what you're feeling and expressing. So tell me a little bit about, when did you first know your dad had a problem with alcohol or was an alcoholic?
I mean, I've always grown up around it, so I didn't really know anything before alcohol, I would say. But I do have a distinct memory where I'd probably would say I was like 5 or 6 years old, and I would notice my parents fighting, but it got to a point where my dad stormed out and like just drove away and left. And I remember going outside and chasing after him and not knowing if he would come back, not knowing where he's going, not knowing, you know, if he's safe and stuff like that. So I think dealing with those kinds of like issues and knowing kind of how to deal with that for as long as I can remember is the answer. I'd say, yeah.
Well, I relate to that exact scenario. I run outside to try to chase my dad from leaving. How do you think it affected you? You think you were ever like really a child the whole time? Or do you think you kind of grew up real early dealing with those situations and those emotions?
I'm not sure when it happened, but I became a parent in some way.
Yes.
So I think that there's definitely, I didn't stop being a child because I still would have fun and do what I think I needed to be healthy and be young. But also I had a different set of like responsibilities that I took upon myself to manage, and that definitely grew me up quicker.
Yeah, it's interesting because when someone is raised by an alcoholic or a drug addict, they can go either way. They can become more like them, or they become incredibly responsible and productive. My sense is maybe you've done the latter, which is a good thing. But lately, though, it sounds to me like maybe your dad's turned the corner. One, what's different with your dad lately? Why is he sober? And is this the first time he's been sober this long, or have there been stints throughout his life where he's gotten sober before?
You know, there's been moments where he's worked on his drinking, you know, but I wouldn't say that there's been any time, a period where he's gone this long without drinking before.
49 days is the
49
longest.
49 days is the longest, where like he's, you know, there's something different. You could see it in his eye. It's a different switch of the mindset where it's like someone who's like, oh, I don't know how long I'll last, where it's now someone working for that every day, you know what I mean? So there is that difference.
But you saw him in the hospital, right?
I did.
Yeah, what was that like?
I would say it was extremely tough. Probably one of the most tough things that I've gone through in my entire life. Just walking in and seeing him on the hospital bed, and then the first thing that my instant reaction was like, go up to him and give him a hug and whisper in his ear like, it's gonna be okay. It's gonna be okay. You're fine. You're fine. You're fine. Like you're the best dad in the world, no matter what. And like I was telling that to him, but I was also speaking to myself.
Yeah.
And I was telling myself like it's gonna be okay. It's gonna be fine. And it was tough, just like seeing him in a position where you don't really want to remember him that way, right? There's ways that you would choose to remember someone, and in that situation, it's not what I would like to remember him as.
Yeah.
So for him to have that second chance is
Yeah.
pretty cool.
Welcome back to Change. We're here talking with Josh. Who's taking care of your dad right now?
It's a majority group effort, but I would say that most of the responsibilities is on me. So I'm his primary caregiver.
Okay.
I actually moved in with him, so
You're the youngest, and you took on that responsibility.
yes.
Yeah, why?
I didn't consult with anyone. I just decided to do. I'm not gonna ask someone for any kind of permission to do something that I want to do. So
Wow.
it's why did I do something I wanted to do? Because I wanted to do it.
Yeah. That's impressive that you
Yeah.
just stepped up. Basically, you just said, hey, man, get out of the way. I'm going to lead.
Yeah, I'm gonna do whatever it is that I need
Yeah.
to do for my dad, regardless if someone else wants to do it too. Yeah.
What about the burden of carrying this all your life? So this is the real. Let's say you've known for roughly 18 years your dad's an alcoholic, off and on.
Yeah.
Of those 18 years, 365 days a year, right? How many days do you think that you've worried or thought about the fact that somehow my dad could be in this condition or this situation? I'm worried about my dad. For me growing up, I hope he doesn't do, when my dad was drinking, my dad got sober for many, many years, but hope he doesn't do anything to embarrass our family or hurt somebody or hurt himself, or I'm going to get a phone call that he's gone. I carried that. You've had to carry that for a long time. What percentage of the time do you think of all these years you've at least had a thought in a given day about your dad's condition?
I mean, I would say out of the 365 days, say it's 18 years that I've known about it, right? It'd be better counting the days where I didn't worry about it.
The
But
reason I ask you that, brother, is the people that are out there watching this today that are the alcoholic or the potential alcoholic or the drug addict, you just used the word, you have made your lifestyle their lifestyle. They are burdened with thinking about you and worrying about you as their dominant pattern of thought almost all of the time. And so just so you know, if you're wondering whether you should get help or you should make a change, if you're even asking yourself the question, am I an alcoholic? Am I a drug addict? You probably have a problem with it. If you're even in the doubt mode, you probably have a problem with it. The fact that it's just even a question in your life, that substance is so prevalent in your life that you even have to ask questions about it, you already know the answer to it. And the answer is that you probably do have a challenge with it. And it needs to be eradicated or really mediated to some extent. So let me ask you two questions. Number one, what do you think, if anything, will be different this time? Now that he's 49 days down the road, what makes you believe this is going to be different than any other time in his life?
the donor who was, who donated his organ to my father and saved his life, like that person did not drink any alcohol and did not smoke any cigarettes. And it was, a very, very, very healthy, piece of the body. And so out of respect for that person, he's going to let that, tie into the decision.
Well, I'm hopeful that it's different. Everybody that's, that is involved in any situation like this, just always remember this. You really are one decision away from changing your life. I'm sitting here today in part because my father made one more decision to do what your dad's done recently, except my dad did it for the next 35 years of his life before he passed away. But that one decision to get sober, to get clean, changed my family tree forever. That one decision. You are one decision away. My dad tried to get sober, Josh, so many times. I was like, what's going to be different this time? He said, I'm going to lose my family. and there was a catalyst, and that one decision changed the trajectory of my life. I pray that that happens with your dad.
Thank you.
But I was able to forgive my dad, right? And I think you're here today because, is that really what your challenge is how do I forgive my father?
It is something that I've, had to go through my entire life, right? Like, how should I accept what he's doing? Should I forgive him for breaking promises and stuff like that?
How's your brother feel about that, though?
His relationship with my dad is a lot different than my
Very
relationship with
different.
my dad.
I think I want to hear from him with you here.
Sure.
We'll have more with the brothers, Josh and Joe, when we come back.
I had moments where I took a step to forgive my dad.
My dad was sober for 35 years. But did I completely forgive my dad?
Every time we talk to him, he's been a little buzzed. He's like, I did nothing wrong. And he was drunk on that call.
First things first, your dad did something right. Right? Look at the two of you. You're both really successful young men in business, and so he did something right. And that's, one thing I want to also point out, because I know you want to honor your dad by being here as well, too. My dad's drinking wasn't all that he was. It was part of who he was. There was still a loving and kind man there, and I get the feeling that your dad has some of that as well. But how's it affected how you've lived? I mean, really outwardly in your life?
It's a constant. Every time we talk to him, he's been a little buzzed. Or every time we go out with him, he makes a fool of himself. When we're around him, he's not sober, and it's just we want that presence. Like we want him to be present with us. And when we were in the hospital, we're like, dude, it's good to see you.
It was actually him.
It's good to see you. You have sober eyes. You know? So before he had a glaze, but he was used to the glaze.
He was used to it, and you were used to it.
I was used to it.
As a kid, I played baseball. And I had these mixed emotions. Sometimes my dad would miss my games because he'd been drinking. And then there were other times where I would see him in the stands. And I wasn't always sure I wanted him there. Because I wasn't sure if it was going to be the guy who's really, really loud and acting weird because he's had some drinks before he got there. What about when you were growing up playing baseball?
Well, my dad wasn't in the stands. He was the third base coach.
Really?
Yeah, so he was my coach, but the umpire behind me and then the catcher behind me already noticed the alcohol in his breath. And the umpire, as I'm at bat, is saying, your dad's been drinking again, huh? And I'm just, trying to hit this fastball, but the thing is that was something that I didn't recognize was the perception of my dad wasn't how I didn't want that perception on my dad.
Yeah.
It's like you want to look up to your dad, and you want your teammates to look up to your dad.
Yeah.
You don't want him to be the guy who's the alcoholic dude who always has a buzz on.
Yeah.
Ironically,
brother, we live patterns. We pick them up, and the symptoms of our life are different than our parents, but typically the disease is the same thing. So if you come from a family where there's distance between you and a male figure, even if you love your children, you do all the things right, you will unconsciously do things to still create that distance. In your dad's case, it was this addiction of his and his behavior through the addiction. We always have to be careful. One thing in life that's really great, the two of you I can tell have done this, because when you have an alcoholic parent, you're aware of things other kids aren't, and it can make you very self-aware, right? My other friends, when we'd walk into a restaurant together, they were just there to order off the menu and have dinner. But you guys know if your dad's an alcoholic, you have a whole other set of things that you're looking for when you go in there. Where are we going to sit with my dad's case? Most restaurants would start to put us in little private rooms. I thought it was because we were exclusive when I was little. Then I figured out later, no, it's because your dad's going to lose it on a waiter at some point. You guys relate to that?
Oh, yeah.
Your dad's going to act the fool, right? And so now my dad got sober, and I want to honor my dad to this day, even when I have to speak about it, just like you guys, there's a little guilt I feel because I also know what a good man my father was. But at the same time, I carry these things with me, and you carry these things. Have you been able to forgive your dad about all of this, or is there a part of you, and I want you to be honest with me about this, because I've actually wondered, candidly, my dad was sober for 35 years. My hero, my best friend in my life. But did I completely forgive my dad?
That's a good question.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Did I completely forgive my dad? Because damn it, I didn't get to be a normal 6-year-old. I didn't get to be a 9-year-old. I didn't get to be 11. I didn't get to go out to dinner with my family and not worry about all these things. I didn't get to play a baseball game and not look up and say, Dad, I hit a home run, but worry, is he going to do anything, right? And I hate even saying that out loud, but the fact that I still carry some shame from it makes me wonder if I've completely forgiven my dad about it. And he's my hero, right? But what about in your case?
I had moments where I took a step to forgive my dad. And do you want to answer anything on this? You good? And it was 4 or 5 years ago. I never felt the willingness to forgive. That grudge and that resentment. I asked him, like, Dad, like, can you forgive me for what I did as a bad son? And I was very disrespectful to you. And I was like, hopefully you could forgive me. And he immediately rejected. He's like, I did nothing wrong. And he was drunk on that call. He's like, I bought you equipment. I bought you this. I've done this for you. And he threw it all in my face to the extent my mom was crying, telling me to hang up the phone. She was like, dude, he's not accepting your forgiveness. He's drunk right now. He's cussing at you. And I let him talk for 30 minutes. And I just like, I was crying. She was crying. I was like, Dad, I love you. I'm sorry.
Good for you.
You know, and I think he just needed to get that out. And I hope he takes this situation seriously.
Listen, addiction takes on different forms.
Yeah.
I think that I'm a little bit addicted to anger.
Anger. It's the same emotion.
The forgiveness thing, you're not forgiving him for him. You're forgiving him for you.
You are the cop. Get off my stage.
How many of you have, I'm just curious, how many of you have any addiction of any type in your family at some point? That's incredible. So more than 2/3 of the audience has some form of addiction in your own families. That's absolutely remarkable. That's incredible. And even people that are working on the crew here on our team are raising their hands as well. That's how prevalent this stuff is in the world. How about the two of you? Anything in your life that, listen, addiction takes on different forms.
Yeah.
So there's an addictive personality type, right? Your dad's case, it was alcohol. It could be drugs. It could be porn. It could be women. It could be work. It could be anger. There's lots of things we can become addicted to, particular emotions. I'm curious with either one of you two, do you see any of those proclivities you're worried about in either one of yourselves?
Yeah, I do, honestly. I think that I'm a little bit addicted to anger.
What about in your case, Joe?
Anger. It's the same emotion. I get, like, there's times where I catch myself, like, my emotions just, like, short fuse. I'm naturally, I like being a happy guy.
I can see that,
But
both
there's
of you.
times where it's, like, usually with him, you know, and
With him, with each other?
with both of us. We clash more
We
than
clash.
anybody
Two of
else.
you.
We do.
There's no one else I clash with more than my brother.
Good. I'm glad I got the both of your asses here together so we can fix that.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're the ones that clash,
Yes.
but we're also the ones put in this situation to help my dad.
Yeah. Are you interested at all in some of the advice I can give you that I've utilized in my life? Because you can't have a topic on the show that I connect with more than the two of you guys. So would you like some of my change stuff?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Let's go into those. Let's get into some changes. Okay, let's talk about a few things. Not just forgiveness, but the emotional stuff. I want to go to the anger thing, first of all. We become addicted. We have what I call an emotional home. And our emotional home is, as human beings, we get, you know, on a weekly basis, we find a way to get our emotional home, even if they don't serve us, because we move towards what's familiar with us. So when we're little, if we start to become familiar with anger, we see anger, we have it ourselves or we get it in a family member, or sadness, or anxiety, or fear, or worry, those are emotions that we end up adopting ourselves. And unbeknownst to us over time, we become addicted to those emotions. So no matter what the conditions of our life are, if you're addicted to anger, if it's one of those emotions, no matter what your life conditions are, you're making $1 million a year, you're making no dollars a year, you got a great relationship, you got a bad relationship, you find a way to get your anger every week. Even if it doesn't serve us, we're going to get it because we're familiar with it. And no emotions are good or bad. People say, well, fear, terrible emotion, or anger, terrible emotion. Well, really? I mean, maybe a lot of it's bad, but a little anger, you get your game face on.
Exactly.
A lot of anger, you act stupid. A lot of anger, you hurt people. So a little anger, fear, well, I wouldn't want to live in fear every single day, but fear of failing causes me to prepare for this show. So fear of failure can be healthy. A little bit of these emotions is good. What we have to do is ask ourselves, what are the emotions I want to experience in my life? Because here's why. The quality of our life is the quality of our emotions. We don't want a jet. We want how we think it'll make us feel. We don't want a fancy watch. We want how it makes us feel. If you're starting to get too much anger, you need to take inventory of that and start to become more aware and ask yourself, what are the emotions I want to experience in my life? That's number one. Are you all with me on that? Say yes.
Yes.
Everyone sets up goals. I want this, this, and this amount of money, this body weight. That's great. Do you have any emotional goals? Because the very things you're writing down you want are to get a feeling. What if the feeling was the goal? And what if getting that feeling in your life helped you get the things and not the other way around? We're constantly chasing things because we think they'll make us feel something. But what if we chased how we're going to feel? And what if you could access that feeling anytime you wanted and didn't have to chase it? What if peace already lives within you? What if joy already lives within you? What if happiness is already, what if love is already within you? You can access those emotions anytime. Now getting the stuff becomes much easier. It's hard to get the stuff we want if we're operating out of anger. It's hard to get the stuff we want if we constantly operate out of fear or anxiety or stress. So getting more control of our emotions changes our life. That's number one change I want you both to work on. You got me on that?
Gotcha.
Okay. The second thing is this. You're not forgiving him for him. You're forgiving him for you. It relieves you of the burden of carrying all of this stuff you've been carrying all your life. And it affects you more than you think, brother. It affects you more than you think. The shame, the fear, the anxiety. It shows up in other areas. It shows up when you walk out here and you're super nervous today. More nervous than you need to be.
Yeah.
Why? Because you grew up a nervous little boy. So it's a little bit of dialing down the forgiveness and saying, I'm doing this for him and not me. And then the last part of this, and this has always been a difficult thing for me. I think your father has a disease. Now, sometimes the addict or the alcoholic uses this concept as an escape from responsibility. Well, I wish I could quit, but I've got a disease. That's a cop-out when they do it. Now, having said that, there is a chemical addiction that's a real disease that people have. And I think in our life, when we're looking for change from people, there has to be some compassion and understanding on the other side. That when someone's drinking to the extent where they're losing body parts like a liver, perhaps some of this is out of their control and decision making. And they've got a chemical addiction in their life, which is why getting into treatment, if it's to that extreme, is a healthy thing in life. So I think it's remembering he is suffering from a disease and that there should be some grace given for that.
Yeah, I have a question if I could ask.
Yeah, please.
Recovery and sobriety, huge difference. He's 50 days sober, but we want him to recover.
Yeah.
So I guess he doesn't like the fact of going to an AA meeting.
Yeah.
He's very against that.
I've watched people get sober different ways. And so that program worked for my dad, and I would say is the most successful program that has worked. But I've seen people quit drinking and just quit drinking and not go to meetings. I would say you're taking a much bigger risk if you're not in a program. Why? The power of association, the power of rituals and habits. So recovery means that you're on a program of changing you. See, sometimes, I'm so glad you asked that, there's a personality that comes with addiction as well. And oftentimes you will meet somebody who'll tell you, yeah, my mother quit drinking, but she still goes to anger. She still is irrational. She's still so-and-so. So although they stopped a part of it, which is the behavior of drinking the alcohol, the personality pattern has continued. And that's why just getting sober isn't enough. You must recover as a human being. I think 12-step programs to date have been the most successful, but even their failure rate's very high. But if you're not in some type of a program where he's reading, feeding his soul, working out, moving his body once he's healthy enough to do it, changing his physical state once he can do that physically, the propensity and probability of him slipping back again is very high if he doesn't change his habits, rituals, and behaviors. I'm really glad you asked that, but the tools I want you two to implement is forgiveness and is taking control and taking an inventory of the emotions both of you want to experience on a regular basis and become aware of that and begin to visualize those feelings of those emotions. Does that make sense for you guys?
100%.
Right, this is one of my favorite conversations we've ever had on the show, and I'm really grateful. You two guys, by the way, honored your father in being here today, but you've also turned a bunch of lives around, and in some cases today, you've saved people's lives who are going to make the decision to go get sober for their family. So thank you so much. Great to meet both of you guys. Thanks, man.
Thank you.
Great to meet you. Really proud of you. Really proud of you. All right, I love audience question time. I've selected this one because I think so many people can relate to it. How do you overcome a major regret? For me, I don't regret anything I can learn from. I regret if there's been collateral damage to other people and somehow maybe that's harmed someone else. But for me, there's a lesson. Everything is always happening for a reason in our lives. You've got to adopt this belief system. What's the good that's coming from this? What can I learn from it? It's never the event of our life. It's the result of it that we take a meaning from. Let me give you a perfect example. For me and you, what if the worst thing we could imagine happened? We rolled up and we saw a car accident on the side of the road. and let's just say horribly a family member was lost in that car accident. To me, that would be one of the most tragic moments of my entire life. How many of you, for you, my meaning would be tragedy, horrible, how am I going to get over this? Would you all agree with that? Yes? I was reading about Mother Teresa, and she actually described that exact event, and she said it was the honor of her lifetime to be with someone when their soul passed from earth to heaven. The same exact event, two totally different meanings, which created two totally different emotions, which creates two totally different lives. That's the most extreme explanation and example I can give you. But for me, when an event happens in my life, I'm trying to attach the meaning. And what I ask myself is, what would I need to believe about this so that it would serve me, so that I grow and I get better from it? And when I choose the right meaning of an event, I get the right emotion and I don't regret it. That's what I think about regret when there's a traumatic event.